There's a New Zealander by the name of Gregory John Duncroft, 50 years old, who used to be what's called a train spotter. Train spotters are very interesting people. They follow trains around the country and they take photographs of these trains. Well, he was busy photographing a steam train, and as he took pictures, the train got nearer and nearer. Eventually, the train blew its whistle twice, according to witnesses, and he didn't move because he was busy taking pictures. And the next minute, the train collided with him, threw him in the air, broke his legs, and he landed on the ground, and he was dead. And when the witnesses who relayed the story said, he didn't move, he didn't budge, he just continued to stare down the lens of the camera. You see, he was so focused looking through that lens that he misjudged the distance that the train was actually from him. How many of you know all of us are looking at life through a lens? This morning I want to come to part 2, and I want us to look at strengthening a biblical worldview. Strengthening a biblical worldview. A man by the name of Danny Akin, who is a theologian in the States, he's the president of a theological seminary. He said a worldview is a comprehensive view of life through which we think, understand, and judge. Very important word. And which determines our approach to life, meaning and decision making. The way you look at life, your worldview, will determine how you judge things and how you make decisions, especially when it comes to relationships, when it comes to money, when it comes to morality. You will determine how to make those decisions by your worldview. Are you with me? Now, this morning, under the umbrella of this topic, I want to speak to you on a very important subject because it's an area that we face every day. And I've entitled the message in Shakespearean terms this morning. And I've called it "To Judge or Not to Judge, That is the Question." And the reason why many people tell us not to judge is because of society's two basic assumptions. Most people who are not looking at life through a biblical worldview believe that religion is private and morality is relative. However, the scripture does not teach that. The scripture teaches us that we need to be discerning and that there's truth, standards, and authority. Three very important things. How many of you know when you go to court, the judge doesn't just judge you on his opinion? He judges you on truth, doesn't he? Law, standards, and then authority. When you have no truth or standards or authority, you make up your mind about whatever you want and you tell people, don't judge me. Who are you to judge me? I'll choose what's right or wrong. But as Christians, we don't believe that. You don't just make up your own mind. God's truth, God's standards, and God's authority are the lens through which we look and we make decisions. Are you with me? Every day, though, you and I are confronted with making judgments. When we meet someone, when we choose friendships, when we do business with people, when we're about to borrow or lend money, when we are choosing to get married, you make judgments. You have to. Number one, in looking at the subject this morning, Jesus did not rule out all forms of judgment. People think that Jesus didn't judge anyone, but he did. He constantly made public judgments. And he took strong positions on certain matters. And we need to follow his lead, but with wisdom. And the message today will give you an entire picture. In John chapter 7 and verse 7, it says, Jesus speaking, the world cannot hate you, but it hates me because I testify that its works are evil. So Jesus pointed out the wrong in people, highlighted and judged them, if you like. In verse 24 of John 7, Jesus says, stop judging by mere appearances, but instead judge correctly. So we mustn't just judge on the surface, but we must judge. We have to make measured judgments. We have to see through things. The second thing about to judge or not to judge, we must assess people, but not dismiss them as persons. So Jesus came into the world, John 3:17, not to condemn the world, but to save the world. We mustn't just condemn people and write people off, but we must assess them. And the goal must be to save them. Whenever you judge, it must be to protect yourself and to protect others. Notice what 2 Timothy 3:16 says. It says, all scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness. 4 things: teaching, correcting, rebuking, and training. The question is to judge or not to judge. We must discern and judge, but not without mercy. Whenever you judge something, there must be mercy attached to it. But as I come to a close this morning, this is very important. There must always be a balance between grace and truth. Grace is mercy, truth is honesty and standards, but we need both.